We got Sarkeesian's cousin down here on the end, Jay Davis, and Buddy Shelton. All right, Coach Turner, we're glad to have you here, and we want to kind of start off with that big win over Ashdown Friday night.
Oh, man, it was huge. It was huge. We haven't beat Ashdown in the past 7 years. You know, that's where when I came back to Arkansas, that's where I went. So I was offense coordinator over there with Coach Richardson for the past 6 years over there, and it was just big getting a chance to go there and compete against him again, and this time coming out on the winning end. Our kids played hard. I mean, our defense has been carrying us so far this season, and they played lights out. They played lights out, man. We're just proud of those guys.
Well, I was looking at some stats, minus 42 yards total offense that the defense allowed and 6 sacks. So the defense definitely a story, but, you know, it's neat when it comes down to possibly just a blocked PAT.
Yes, sir.
And then y'all were able to keep them out of the end zone for their 2-point conversion when they attempted to tie. But how did you prepare your team going into that game, knowing that you haven't beat them in quite a few years?
Just instilling on our kids, man. It's just that work ethic and never giving up. We always tell our kids we're going to fight to the end no matter what the score is. And we have a big senior class this year, and they've really bought into that. They've been our leaders the past 2.5 years. And they would just say, Coach, we want it. We believe. And that's what we tell each other, installing our kids every day. Man, believe. Just believe it. Let's write our own story. I got a binder, and I labeled it the Book of the Hope Bobcats. In Chapter 1, we gave a game away to Nashville. I mean, we were the better team. Their coaches said we were the better team, but they got the win. So in Chapter 2, I say, hey, guys, let's continue to write our story. And those guys said, Coach, we're going to write our story. And they played lights out.
Well, Coach, you know, I know that every team is special.
Yes, sir.
Every senior class is special. You got different leaders. Tell us a little bit about your special leaders this year that stepped up.
Yes, sir. Starting on the defensive side of the ball, Richard Cunningham. Richard Cunningham, he's our nose guard this year. Past 2 years, we've been moving around trying to find him that spot. He's probably our strongest kid in our athletic program, and, man, he's bought into that nose guard spot. He had 8 tackles, 5 sacks, 3 quarterback pressures. I mean, he just had a great game. Katie Gully, he's another one. He's getting recruited by some schools for middle linebacker. He also plays running back and receiver. And, you know, those 2 guys right there, they're leading us. Warren Ortiz, he's probably, we call him our dog. He's not going to back down to anyone. And he used to be our starting defensive end, all-conference defensive end. So people started running away from him. So we said, hey, we're going to put him inside with KD. Now you can't run away from him, and it's really paying out for us.
Right, and I always like when you got a dog lineman that kind of takes up that leadership role.
Yes, sir.
That's good. That's good.
Well, you look at the 5A South, and honestly, it's arguably the toughest 5A conference in the state of Arkansas. You could have a massive steps forward, even with y'all and with Arkansas High, and still be fighting for that 4th spot.
Yes, sir.
How do you keep the kids motivated in where it's basically like the SEC of the 5A?
Yes, sir. We've talked about that with our kids and how good our conference is overall in the state this year. Defending state champion Parkview coming back and just knocked off Bryant last Friday. We just tell our guys, hey, man, one game at a time. One game at a time. Prepare to win every game on Monday. And that's our big day on Mondays. And just tell them, guys, it's going to be hard. Nobody's going to give us anything. But you can go out there and take it. So that's the mentality we're trying to instill in our boys.
Yes, sir.
Well, before we came on air, we talked a little bit about, you know, you're growing your number of players on the team each year, and I think I read something over the summer. I think y'all maybe added 10 from the previous year, and you know, I put a lot of that on the coaches.
Yes, sir.
And the players wanting to come and play for you. I'm good friends with a gentleman in the Hope community that I have a lot of respect for.
Yes, sir.
And in his text to me, he put a good man when he's talking about you, and I can already tell that in you. And so, tell us a little bit about you just trying to develop your players and trying to bring those into your program so that they become great young men as they leave your program.
Yes, sir. I'm a big man of faith. And me and my coaches, that's what we try to lead our program with faith. Because we tell our guys every day, man, yes, we want to win ball games, but I want to see you become a great young man in our community and in this country. So that's one thing we stay on them. We stay on them daily. They mess up now. There are certain things we do in our program, like we don't use profanity. We don't use, N words and stuff like that. Because no, that's disrespectful. And we just trying to be a young man with character. The wins will come, but a great young man in our community and our school system, man, that's huge to me, because that's home for me. Yes, I want to get the program turned around, but I want to see these young men be successful.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes, sir.
Now go ahead, buddy.
Oh, no, go ahead, Ben. I was just gonna.
I was going to talk about this week. We gave you all a big accolade this week, and
Yes, sir.
it wasn't just to be handed out, but our game of the week is Prescott at Hope.
Yes, sir.
And tell me what winning a game like this can do for the program. And I know Prescott's 3A, but Prescott's probably going to go win the 3A title.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach, before you answer that, I just want to
Yes,
ask you,
sir.
because, I'm just really getting spun up on this Arkansas football since we started the Texarkana Friday Night Lights.
Yes, sir.
Since Hope and Prescott are so close to each other, is that kind of like maybe a little rival right there?
See, I'm from Hope, so it's a big rivalry.
Oh, okay.
It's a big rivalry.
All right.
Big rivalry. And that's the thing, my defensive back coach, he told our kids on Sunday when we watched film, they came up with film, he's like, guys, y'all don't get up for Prescott because he's from Hope.
Right.
And, and he was like, y'all don't get up for Prescott like we used to get up for Prescott. They still get up from Hope because, hey, we're the bigger school.
Right.
So they're going to try to come over here and embarrass you Friday night. So we're trying to get them up for Prescott because all of them buddies got kids that go back and forth to school. Some come to Hope, some go to Prescott from Hope.
And I'm sure some of them probably kin to each other.
Oh,
somewhere
yes,
through
sir.
there.
Yes,
Oh,
sir. Definitely kin to each other. So they're on social media talking trash to each other and everything. But now definitely getting our guys ready, because I told them, hey, guys, they got Prescott, I embellished a little bit. I told them, hey, I'm picked to beat you by 35. You're still not getting that respect. I mean, because we're better. I think overall, Prescott, man, they're super athletic. They're a big play team. And our thing is just try to take away the big play.
Right.
Make them drive the ball down the field to beat us. And if they can do that, they deserve to win. But I just don't think they can do that to us this year.
Now, what defense do you all run primarily?
We're base 3-4 defense.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We have more skill guys, so we don't have all the big traditional linemen we can put down there. So we try to put a lot more speed out there on the field to try to get under
Sideline to
coverage.
sideline.
Yes, sir.
Ben, he ain't gonna give you all his good stuff up here on the air, man.
Well, here's the deal. I better not ask too many questions. He'll be carrying it over to Birdwell. It's been like I got a new idea.
Hey, I'll take any kind of notes we can get.
They took that loss last week and he's upset.
Oh, who beat Hooks?
Well, actually,
The weather beat us.
don't
The
get
weather-
me,
the
don't
weather
get me
beat us.
started. But
Got you.
I am last week 14 or 15 games in our area went down as no contest.
Yes, sir.
But whoever was leading, on paper, it's supposed to not count, but got the win.
Yes, sir.
And it's like I've said, this is Texas, not Connecticut.
Yes.
We can come back and finish the next day. And,
I agree.
For like Buddy and them, yeah, they were down 21-13, but, they don't show that they had the ball 30-yard line in the second quarter to go down to possibly tie. The real bad one is one that went to the fourth quarter over with Paris and Gilmer.
Yes.
Over at Paris, it's 43-40. Paris is at the 20-yard line of Gilmer. Gilmer's never been 0-3 in the history of football.
No.
They're about to be 0-3. They call it for weather and actually give the official win
To
to
Gil-
Gilmer.
Wow.
Yeah, if it goes into the third quarter and
Yes,
weather,
sir.
calls it, that's
So if anybody at the UIL is watching the show this morning, y'all got to do better.
Yeah. So, and I will say this, and I hope it never happens to any of the kids or just any, that weather was not showing on the radar at all. Nobody even expected that to happen, and then it kind of clouded up. It kind of missed it a little bit, and I had a buddy of mine, and he was at the new Boston game, just 7 miles up the road, and he says, "Hey man, we're under some bad weather here. It's headed y'all's way," and I look up and I'm like, "Man, there's no bad weather here," And the next thing you know, it just kind of came out of nowhere and just never went away.
Yes,
It just
sir.
kind of hung over us, but.
I know we had a 15-minute weather delay right there at halftime at Ashdown last week, and then it was just around us the rest of the night, but
Right.
they never called the game, so definitely glad of that. And if they'd have called it, I wish they'd have called in the third quarter when we was up.
I think in Arkansas, the only game we got called was the Foreman game.
Yes.
Which is very unfortunate because you're looking at the Foreman seniors. This is why I get aggravated about
Yes,
it.
sir.
Last week, Foreman had some kind of medical issue where they had too many kids out and they had to forfeit the garden.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they come back this week, they get their game canceled.
Yes, sir.
Them kids are already down to 8 games because Foreman's
Exactly.
probably not going to go to the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
You know they might, but it's unlikely. And now that senior class, they're losing 20% of their games in 2 weeks, and it's just I don't like it at all.
Yes, sir. I totally understand
So,
that.
so what do you, what have you told your team besides the fact that Prescott's going to come in as a smaller team? You know, Hope's got the target on their back. You know, what are you looking at? What are you leaning on specifically, maybe on the defensive side that y'all are going to get better at?
Yes, sir. To get better at, I mean, defense plays really well. We got to create more turnovers. We got to create. We haven't created a lot of turnovers. We sacked the quarterback, you know, turnover on downs, but just creating those explosive plays. I mean, we lost the game to Nashville because we had a pick six, hit my cornerback in the hand. He's looking at the end zone, went through his hand. Nashville kid run up, caught it, and went and scored, and they beat us by 3. So yes, sir, just making plays, making those big plays on the defensive side of the ball to get an offensive chance in positive territory to go out to be successful. But versus Prescott, we just told them, like, guys, the pressure's on them. They just got moved up to the number 1 team in 3A. They've beaten Hope, man, probably the last 9 or 10 years. So I said the pressure's on them. Let's go out and play loose, and let's give them everything we got.
And the Hope Bobcats are going to put it on them this Friday night.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Well, Coach, thank you for coming. We'll take a small break here and switch over to Eric, but we wish the Bobcats well, and I think you're going to see a close game Friday night.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. You guys have a good
Enjoy
one.
the week.
Yes, sir.
Life is busy, and we get it. The State Bank mobile app was designed to make banking more convenient for you. Check account activity, make transfers, pay bills, and manage your debit card in a snap. You can deposit checks from the convenience of your home or wherever life lands you. The State Bank app lets you organize your accounts, manage alerts, and easily email our customer service experts. Now that you have State Bank at your fingertips, you can spend more time doing what's important to you.
Your family, your bank, State Bank.
All right, we're back for the second segment, and we have Eric McCaslin. He's the offense coordinator at Hope.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
me and
sir.
Eric know each other because we're going to give him a shout out. Eric's son, Deuce,
Yes, sir.
is going to be a stud in all sports. He is 7 years old now,
He's 8.
8.
He's actually 8.
He's 8.
Yes, sir. He's 8 years
but
old.
he can play baseball and he can play football, I know for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely a little athlete. I'm just hoping that as he keeps growing and understanding what the work is in order to stay grinding, and his grades always stay right. He's a straight A student, so
Well,
we already got that figured out.
He's a great kid.
And Ben, if nobody knows, is like the greatest Little League coach of ever sports.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
know,
sir.
That's how I met Ben. Well, it wasn't really through Little League. But
I actually tried to give the team to Buddy, and in typical Hooks fashion, he was mean to the parents, so I had to take it back.
Hey, that's a true story. We don't need to go down that road, but that's actually a true story right there.
I don't know how many kids get to learn southpaw hitting though. You get a lefty on the mound.
That's
so.
right. I didn't want to be the coach, and I wasn't good, but everybody else I had was worse than me, so we had to go with me
No, that's
pitching.
right.
That still means you're number 1.
And hey, we were an expansion team, but we won 3 games. We were
Yes,
the only
sir.
team that did not have anybody coming
Right.
back. So
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong
Oh,
with
that's
that.
right.
Well, Coach, you run the offense.
Yes, sir.
You got sounds like you got you a great quarterback.
Yes, sir.
He's bought into your system.
Yes, sir.
You told us that you've been with him since or you said you started training him or switched him over to quarterback in the 10th grade.
Yes, sir. He never played quarterback before. When he played football in 9th grade, I tried to move him to quarterback, and he wanted to play receiver. because he wanted to go catch some passes.
Right.
I'm talking about slow. He's probably a 5'5" kid at that point in time. But I couldn't convince him to play quarterback. Well, finally, his 10th grade year, I convinced him to play, and I think he went 10 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, kind of splitting time with our guy at that time, Amorian Dempsey. And then his junior year, last year, he throws 21 touchdowns and about 6 picks. So you started seeing a little progress at about 1,600 yards. He's starting to really start to pick up things, and instead of just throwing the ball and taking chances, he's starting to understand how things operate on the football field. He's starting to do checks and stuff on his own and everything. So really just having an understanding of how to play quarterback. You know,
Right.
a lot of people think they want to play quarterback whenever that pressure's on and them lights are on you. They really don't want to be there. They just want the glory that comes with it, but they don't understand the work that comes with it.
That sounds like my youngest son. He thinks he's a quarterback until you get in his face, and then he's like, I don't want to play that no more.
Blow
Yes,
the
sir.
whistle, blow the whistle.
Whistle.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the 5'5" speed. I don't think he's 5'5" anymore.
No, sir. He's actually a 4'8" guy.
Okay, because one of the things that I'm always interested in is just the preparation that the coaches put in, and you know, I think your average fan doesn't understand the time and
Yes,
effort
sir.
that y'all put in. But tell us a little bit just about the speed camp that you put on during the summertime for your players.
Yes, sir. I do a speed school. Actually, I do it right after football season. I do it twice a year. I do it right after football season will start. I start at 6:45 in the morning. Any athlete of ours that wants to come up, we go from 6:45 in the morning till 7:30, and then as soon as 7:30 is done, of course, they get to go take showers and go back to class. And then I'll run it again in the summer when we get to the summer. And it's just speed training. We start with acceleration, and we build form and stuff like that with stride, dealing with kids, stop reaching out in front of them, just foot down and drag. Really just teaching the finer mechanics of it. We do a few little exercises for it, but you'd be surprised how fast kids get whenever you start changing form of how they run. A lot of them just don't understand how to run. They don't understand how to apply force in the ground. So that's kind of what we try to teach is form.
Well, and like I said, it's just that time and effort that the coaches put in. You know, talked about going in and watching film on Sunday.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
and so, I mean, it's just amazing to me how much time and effort y'all put in for these young men. Tell us a little bit more about your offense or what type of offense that y'all run.
We're a spread offense. We're air raid offense. I'm big. Throw it. If I can't run it, I'm not going to pound my head and try to run against you. If you want to load the box, you want to go cover zero, I'm going to throw it over the top and see if my kid one-on-one's better than your kid. I feel like that me being a strength conditioning coach and stuff like that and training these kids, I feel like that I'm training them better than you are, and so my kids are going to be able to produce, and I try to give them that confidence, especially through the work you put in. I always tell them, hey, man, don't go out here on the field and not have confidence. You know the work you put in. Now, if you didn't put in that work, I understand that, but just remember that the work has to match the expectations. So if you expect playoffs, then you got to work like the playoffs are here. If you expect a state championship, then that work ethic's got to match that. So whenever you out here and we say, hey, I understand 6 a.m.s are voluntary, but if you want that playoff spot, you're going to show up. So that's kind of how I gauge them. The ones that show up 6 a.m.s, I can kind of tell if we're going to have a good week or not. Because if they're engaged in 6 a.m.s and I got 15, 20 up there at 6:45 workouts, doing extra work every day, because I run it right now. I run it all year long to give them that extra time that they need that we can't give them in practice. So as long as they keep showing up there, there's no reason they can't have confidence when they go in the game. If you're prepared, why not have confidence?
Yeah, Coach. Excuse me. So back to your quarterback and possibly some of your receivers. Do they got that work? I don't even really know what you call it, but like maybe like a connection, man. Like where your quarterback and your receivers, they just kind of bond together and they know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yes,
and
sir.
like he's like, hey, get me, I'm over the top.
Absolutely. He knows what each one of his players do well, and they're a close-knit group.
Right.
He calls himself the gunslinger. Those are his guys. So they're going to try. They tell him all the time, hey, just get it around me, and I'll bring it in. Just get it around me, and I'll bring it in. So they understand hot routes, breaking stuff off, but the timing is there. That's what you always see. You'll see, like, how did they even hit that? He didn't even know the timing of, say, an out route or something. When he whips his head around, ball's already in his hands, and it's almost one fluid movement turning back upfield. That's when you can tell that they're kind of in sync. and we're not guessing. You don't see him hitching throws. He understands where guys are going to be on certain plays and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't think you build that if they don't come in the summer. And they were here all summer. They were all summer long. They were out there 7-on-7s. If we wasn't out there, they was out there putting in extra work, coming up on the weekend with just each other, throwing the ball around, just getting that chemistry together. You can start to see it in practice. And as it starts to develop into that game speed, when you get through these non-conference games, they get more acclimated to that game speed. Then you start seeing it during the games. And then you get a really special kids doing really special things in front of everybody.
Right. Right.
Now, we were talking beforehand, and you guys mentioned more than once you got 19 seniors this year.
Yes, sir.
And just a couple years ago, you said you went to Camden Fairview and you had 29 kids, and they had 29 seniors.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
I want to talk about how much y'all have grown, and have y'all been circling 2023 as a year for y'all to break out?
I think with this group right here, we kind of saw it when they were in 8th grade. A bunch of them started. And back then, I was doing a lot more junior high, too. I was kind of double dipping both and being OC down there. And I told them, you know, depending on how they work, they could have a chance to be special their last year. And that group of about 16 of them, now we've had a few of them in and out, but about 16 of them has really been consistent in the weight room, in practice, in the summer, showing up, taking leadership roles, even whenever they weren't seniors. When they're sophomores, they're taking leadership roles. And I think that's grown into the team we have now. So you're starting to see it in practice. You're starting to see it in games. You're starting to see it in their week to week that this is their team, and they've taken ownership of that. And they understand that there's a standard that they won't go below. And any other the younger kids that want to drop below that standard, hey, they get a kick in the butt. Hey, let's go. And they're handling things. And whenever your team is player-led and not coach-led, now you got a chance for some special things.
We got some culture there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then it's theirs. It's their ownership of it. So if it's bad, it's their accountability. It's not ours. So that's kind of how we've been doing with these seniors. And I think that's what set them up to play a close game with Ashdown, or to play a close game with Nashville and lose, that we haven't really been in games like that with them, and to beat an Ashdown team. And I think once they realize what it takes to win and learn what that level of focus is, I think that's whenever we finally get to that next level and we're talking playoffs. And so I'm excited to see if we learn to win this year.
Yeah, and one thing that you said though, the young underclassmen,
Yes,
they
sir.
they see that same thing, then it's just like a trickle effect. So
Absolutely.
if you build that, then the younger kids see it. I mean, it can stream all the way down to the elementary school.
Yes, sir.
Because them little kids, they come out on Friday nights and they kind of look up to all them kids. So one day they want to wear that uniform, and
Yes,
they kind
sir.
of sit there and see. So it's good that y'all got that that system going. That kind of accountability. So that's great things to hear from Hope.
Yes, sir.
And how do you, I guess, get the running game in there? This past week I saw that, Tamorian Lindsay had 130 yards.
Yes, sir.
So how do you keep players like him engaged when you know that you're running that spread offense?
I got most of it. If you look at the Nashville game, we didn't have many rushing yards, but he also had 8 catches, and he had over 100 yards of total offense. So we utilize our running backs a lot. I believe in throw it to everybody. If he's eligible, throw it to him. So most of my running backs, they're not just sitting back blocking and stepping up. They're running all kinds of routes. I mean, you might see a running back run a rail route. You might see him run a seam route from the backfield at our offense. He might run the standard check out route, stuff like that. You just never know where our running back's going to get up. So I really keep him engaged in the passing game, even though he's not running the ball. Now, given he's a heck of a runner. He's about 5'6", and he's a bowling ball. I mean, he's got some of the most incredible balance you'll see. Sometimes the holes he gets out of, you just wouldn't believe he got out of it. But at 5'6", with our line being as big as they are, it's kind of hard to see him whenever he goes down through there, and he's a lot faster than you give him credit for. So even whenever we're getting in those games where people are loading the box and we're having to throw it, if your linebackers aren't disciplined and following him out of the backfield, well, he's going to have a big night for you.
Good deal. Well, Coach, thank you for coming on, and we're really proud of the Hope Bobcats. We
Yes,
see
sir.
what you're doing up there. And something else to take back to your kids. They just went on the road to beat a 4A team,
Yes, sir.
but also they went on the road to beat a 4A team with the #1 player in the state of Arkansas for 2025.
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
hey,
Absolutely.
kudos to the Hope Bobcats and
Absolutely.
thank
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Thanks for coming on,
Appreciate it,
Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We are excited to announce here at Texarkana Emergency Center and Hospital that we have expanded our capabilities to better serve our community. As a hospital, we have the capability for inpatient services. After your outstanding emergency care, we can smoothly transition you into one of our new inpatient rooms that have telemetry monitors in every room to continue your concierge medicine care. While our patients continue receiving their care in their inpatient suites, we also make sure that your loved ones are taken care of with our outstanding facilities. Our added services include a procedure room and also the capability of MRIs. With our imaging, we are able to offer outpatient, inpatient, and emergency room, MRI, CT, ultrasound, and X-ray. We are honored by your support and look forward to serving all your future medical needs.
back, and it's just the three amigos. Morgan's still bear hunting in Alaska. What you got, buddy? You got anything good to say?
Yeah, let's talk about that weather that happened last week and kind of elaborate on that, Ben. You know,
I don't see that up there, do you?
no,
No.
but we're free to discuss
All
anything
right,
we want to.
we'll let it happen.
Yeah. So I know there was a lot of turmoil over all different platforms of anything that reports about high school football. I know that Max Preps counted it as a final game.
Oh, it aggravates me.
All that good stuff. But you know, just I'm just speaking on the Hooks-Winsboro game. You know, there's a lot of logistics that went into that. A lot of travel, a lot of time and money. You know, food, all that stuff. So, you know, they decided not to come back on Saturday. You know, I don't even know. Do you be mad at them? I mean, no. I mean, that's a lot. I don't know how much money that is, but yeah, I'd love to see the game finish. But
Well, I think there has to be some kind of recourse. Okay, let's say if Birdwell wants to play, Winsboro coach don't want to. It doesn't matter if the score's 76-0. If that Winsboro coach don't want to come back and play, that should count against Winsboro. Because, you know, I've had people, of course, it's mostly people that their team was losing, but they want to say, well, these non-districts are glorified scrimmages. I'm like, since when?
Yeah.
Since when? There needs to be some kind. If it goes third quarter, I'm fine with that. Count it as a W. But if it goes into the second and it don't go to halftime, you need to come back and finish.
Well, before, and these are going to be pre-district games as far as my thoughts. If it's before the second half, and you know logistically the schools can make it happen within the rules of UIL, let's finish the game. But
Like
you know,
Winsboro to Hooks, not that far.
right? But I mean, I do know that if it was a regular season game, if it was a district game, they're gonna finish the game.
oh, you have to do that.
And so, you know, for me, I do like the aspect that, you know, the safety and the precautions, you know, were taken into effect, and, you know, the rules were followed that, you know, if the lightning, you know, goes off, you've got to take another break. So, I mean, you know, I can appreciate that. Since Pleasant Grove played on Saturday, I was actually driving around during that evening, just to different spots, and I mean, the lightning was pretty impressive.
See, I was already in Dallas, so I missed all of it.
That came through the area. But you know, I do think that at this point in time, you got to focus on the next week.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah, you just can't sit back and dwell on that. And I'm not sitting here saying that anybody has. There was just so much going on about that.
I'm glad you brought it up, buddy, because it's a sore subject to me.
I knew it was, Ben. But, you know, hey, hindsight, everybody got out safe. Everybody's healthy. We're going on to the next week. And, you know, we just move on from it.
Well, speaking of moving on, we better move on to our players of the week. This week, I believe that everybody was in agreement, but I think they stole my idea because I sent it to them and then they picked them too. So, But we got Akari Johnson as Offensive Player of the Week. 312 total yards, 167 in the air, 145 on the ground, 4 total touchdowns. Akari late in the game, they needed a play. He just went and made it. You were there. Mequan Traylor of Arkansas High, the Defensive Player of the Week. 11 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss. Trent came on here. Trent and Barry were on here, 4 weeks ago? And they were talking about Mequan Taylor, and now we're seeing what he can do.
Well, and I mean, you've got an Arkansas High defense that's only allowing 1 score per game.
And I want to say almost negative yardage.
And so, Traylor is going to be a big part and has been a big part of the success that Arkansas High has seen this year on the defensive side. So, kudos to both athletes. I'm an Akari fan. He's just fun to watch.
Great kid, too.
And so one of the things that, continues to impress me is, Akari hit 6 different receivers to be able to obtain, the stats that he did at the previous game.
And I watched the game, so watching him just throw it from the run was just amazing to me, And so kudos to him, and every chance I get to watch Pleasant Grove, I do, because you never know what's going to happen, man.
Yeah, he's wanting to watch, big boy football is what it is.
Yeah, we take down some notes, take it back to the old drawing board. But no, kudos to them guys, and also back to Arkansas High. Still kind of learning this Arkansas side football. Ben's helping me with it. And, as they keep winning, I've actually called Ben before and was like, hey, man, explain this Arkansas football to me. Who is what size and what? And they're doing a good job over there in Arkansas High, and I hope they keep having continued success.
Absolutely. All right, let's go on down to the game of the week, and we mentioned it earlier. And if Hope doesn't beat Ashdown last week, this game isn't near as big.
Sure.
Even though they were very competitive with Nashville, they'd still been sitting there at 0-2. Prescott at Hope. Prescott's number 1 in 3A. They've got several college kids. They're led by Dakari Prater, who has 3 Division I offers at this point. We talk about what's his name? What is their quarterback's name? I had it wrote.
Pierce Yates.
Pierce Yates, yes. Pierce Yates is a great player. Very, very good player.
He's already got 500 yards passing.
It's crazy. I mean, he can sling it. And Prescott, we talk about culture. Prescott's got culture. Prescott's been going to the playoffs for 30 years. I mean, Prescott's going to win ball games. It's just the way it is. The Prescott coach, there was a chance he could have coached at Arkansas High, and he's still at Prescott. I mean, they've got a lot of things going on up there. For Hope, we'll talk about Tyler Patterson, their quarterback, they mentioned earlier, Tamorian Lindsay, the running back, Juan Ortiz, the linebacker, KD Gully, the running back, and then Richard Cunningham, the D lineman. You've got 19 seniors up there, and all those kids we talk about, they're in this senior class. I mean, Hope still got some work cut out for them, but Hope and Arkansas could slip in there and really turn things on its ear in 5A and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I do see that, and like we've mentioned before, we know Prescott's going to go deep into the playoffs. The one thing that sort of concerns me for Prescott coming in here is last 2 games they haven't scored 20 points.
No.
And they're going to have to score more than 20 points to beat Hope. And so, whether Yates, feels comfortable, I know, PJ Gully is going to be a good target for him, but that Hope defensive backfield is probably going to try to shut down the passing game.
Yeah. What you got, buddy?
Well, so I'm still learning Arkansas stuff, but I will have to say though, a curly wolf, that's their mascot, right?
Yep.
It sounds a little more dangerous than a bobcat, so might have to lean a little bit more with the curly wolves.
It might be subjective. Well, let's move on down here. Now we have Winsboro and New Boston. Now here's another game. This game's got a big spread. But here's the deal that makes it interesting to me is there was an injury to Peyton Harrison last week, which took him out of the game for Atlanta, which changes Atlanta drastically. You have the weather thing. Well, anyway, with an injury of Peyton Harrison, a weather delay, you got an Atlanta loss to New Boston. Now, if New Boston can string something together this week, they don't have to beat Winsboro, but if they go compete with them, it could be a very big deal. And the key to that happening has to be Xavier out, and it starts and ends with him.
Yeah, I'm just like you said, Ben. At the quarterback spot, New Boston's they're gonna have to play some tough ball this week. I've seen Winsboro; they're big. They hold that number 6 or 7 spot ranking for a reason. Will Wilcox, the Winsboro receiver, I think he's like 6'4" and just a dude. So New Boston's defense is going to have their hands full with them. So if New Boston can put together a good game plan, be successful against them, I mean, that'll say a lot about their season, whether they pull out the win.
I just think they need to go compete this week.
Well,
that's right.
And I think you're going to see that. Last 2 games, I'm going to throw away the first game.
Jefferson game,
But I mean, the last 2 games, they're scoring 35 points a game.
Right.
If Winsboro's looking past this team, that's going to be a mistake.
Oh, they can get bit. And I guess the point I was trying to make is win or lose this game. If New Boston goes out and competes with them, and then that'll say a lot towards how they're going to go forward with their season.
Well, actually not we. I somehow skipped DeKalb at Harmony.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
But DeKalb at Harmony, first of the year sounds like a big game. Harmony's 1-2. Obviously not as good as we thought they were, and they lose Boston Seahorn. Right?
Man, I hate to see, even though we had that
I was trying to get a dig at him, and he wouldn't even bite.
I'm not entertaining you, Ben. But I hate to see any kid go out with with an injury. That Boston Seahorn kid, man, he was everything he was advertised to be. He was just that. He was their dude on that team. I think that may have stole a lot of energy from them. So I see DeKalb capitalizing on that and not taking anything from DeKalb. They're a tough team too, but I don't think with Seahorn out as their driver, I think that Harmony falls.
I'm gonna be like Corso, not so fast. I watched a little tape on the backup QB.
Who is
and
it?
Tyson Jenkins.
Okay.
Tyson Jenkins.
6'2", good athlete. I was actually pretty impressed by some of the throws that he made.
Right.
So they're gonna take a step down until he can get some games under his belt.
Right.
But once again, if DeKalb's going into this like, oh yeah, he's hurt, so we're gonna win, that may not be the best approach to take. I do think that DeKalb edges this one out and gets the W, but I don't think they're down as far as what people think as far as the quarterback role now.
Well, when they lost to Beckville, hey, Beckville's ranked for a reason too.
But they're still 2A.
Yeah. Well, still 2A, whatever. I mean, hey.
Now, here's the deal. If you come in number 3 in 3A ball, I don't care if Beckville's ranked 1, 2, 3, or 4. You should beat them. It goes back to the PG and Brock thing. At the end of the day, yeah, that was a dogfight, but we are fully expected to win that game.
No doubt.
But man, so Ben, I'm gonna have to educate you a little bit, man. I know you're a big Arkansas guy, but hey, these 2A schools around here, hey, just like Cooper, we play Cooper. Hey, man, they are a tough team. I mean, they will go far.
Heart comes into play,
right?
And you do have the built-in rivalries. So I mean, you are going to have some smaller schools that are willing to step up for a game.
Right.
You never know, if a coach used to coach there or a player used to live there. There's always something that can get a team up, and that's one of the things I shared with Matt Fry this past week. This is why we play the games. On paper, I can call almost every game that's gonna be played this week on paper, and I can look at stats and I can be like, this is what should happen. But when you go out there, week in, week out, and you've got heart and you've got drive and you're willing to outwork the other team, there's some surprises can happen.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I'm going to say this. The only 2A team that should beat a 3A team is if Terry Bussey's playing, and he's not playing for Beckville or anybody else or Cooper. Our next game here, we got Texas High Tyler Legacy.
Spit it out, man. Spit it out.
I know. Well, they changed all
You're
that.
reading your own handwriting. That's the deal.
Well, it's in my brain. It used to be a different name, and now it's not anyway. But you got Texas High going to 6A Tyler Legacy. A lot of respect here. I think that Texas High comes in as 25-point favorite over 6A team. Not much more to say there, other than they do get to play in Rose Stadium, which is an iconic venue.
Well, and I was just going back and looking at it. Tyler, I don't know how long it's been since they've started 0-4, but they may start out 0-4.
Now Tyler Lee, they're still churning out some athletes, but as far as competing, it's been a minute since they've been good.
Every chance I get to watch Texas High, is this game going to be live this week?
Should be.
It should be. Yeah. So, any chance that I get to watch a little bit of Texas High, I like to watch. I say David J because that's what everybody else calls him, but I don't even know the kid. But I like watching him. Texas High this year. After that, I guess the first game that they played on Thursday night kind of got me hooked. I like to watch their offensive line, their defensive line. They're just explosive in every position, it seems like.
I don't know any shortcomings that Texas High has right now.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Everything that we talked about preseason, David J's a question mark. Can they get stops is a question mark. Will they gel? Will they have chemistry? Well, guess what? They've answered every question that we brought up. And, they've navigated the 3 games that matter before district. These next 2 is going to be, I wouldn't say complete cakewalks, but they should be 5-0 going into district. And by and you can't compare scores, I know, but there's no reason that Texas High shouldn't go 10-0 in the regular season.
Well, in my opinion, they're already where I thought that they would be at about week 9 or 10.
Right.
And so when you can be this far out and already be in the position that they're in, that's going to be more complicated offenses that they're going to be able to start, showing these teams.
You can just put more in.
And, same thing on defenses, put in different schemes, and just to be able to start, giving – once you get into the playoffs, what's so important is to give the other teams too much to prepare for. And that's what Texas High, I think – and this is going to be the first year that I think that I've sensed this, that the other teams, when we get into the playoffs, they're going to have too much to prepare for, and they're going to get stung one way or another.
And I'll even say this. I think they handle a little bit of adversity well, too. So that goes a long way. So if you got a team that has just got dudes in every position, you can handle adversity. If something doesn't go your way or the other team, maybe goes up by a touchdown. Hey, they've shown, with a little bit of adversity, we still play together and get this done.
And we haven't even talked about another strength they have, and that's their coaches.
Right.
Very good.
Oh, yeah.
And, last year they didn't handle the adversity. They come out like gangbusters. They had the injury. David J kind of kept them going for a minute. Then they could not get off the field, and they couldn't move the ball, and they were, they'd be a 40-point favorite over Nacogdoches or Pine Tree and win by 3. Yeah. But this year it just seems like there's a different edge to it. They just seem, to me, I'm sold on Texas High. I think they can compete for state. Well, I want to shout out here to Jason Walden of Atlanta. He loyal follower to the group. He makes a comment about Terry Bussey, but he agrees with me. But he's over here making excuses for 3A over 2A. But just wanted to throw that out there. But I wanted to also talk about Brandon Hall. Brandon Hall's a kid that's near and dear to my heart. I coached him since he was, 8 years old in baseball, played All-Stars for me a couple times. Brandon, he's a dog of an athlete. It didn't matter what Brandon was doing. Brandon wanted to be the man when he was a little boy, and he still got that attitude today. And someone's going to give Brandon a scholarship, and Brandon's going to be a special kid. Yeah. And I'm really proud of him. What you got? You got anything else, buddy, on Texas High?
Since we're going to get some shout-outs and maybe some scholarships, I want to give a big shout-out to –
absolutely. How do we forget that?
Yeah. Give a shout-out to Jatavius Boogie Johnson from Hooks. After the game Friday night, got the offer from Colorado State. So – congrats to great things are coming for Boogie out of Hooks. Outstanding gentleman. plays like a man amongst boys. So shout out to Boogie.
Hey, we got one more. Chris Looney just said, how about a shout out to the youth Tiger, Texarkana Tigers? And how about that stud, Kale, their son?
So yeah, just give a shout out to old Kale. Kale is a dude at pretty much everything he does. You know,
It doesn't matter what it is.
It don't matter
if
what
it's
he plays.
bowling or baseball or football
Kale ain't losing at nothing.
or
So-
hockey. I hadn't seen him play ice hockey, but I bet you Kale Looney can play ice hockey.
Oh, I'm sure. So yeah, shout out to him, man. You know, he actually played flag football with me. My son and his son are the same age, and I could have told you then because they were in kindergarten then at that level, and
It was just different.
Oh yeah, he was a dude. You know, I could tell him. I remember telling him in flag football, "Hey, listen, they're not really going to call it on us, so go over and just tackle the kid." You know,
Tie your flag.
yeah. So you know, and Kel be like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just
Some
do
of
it.
that
Do
hooks
it.
Hey,
Do it."
it's just a
That
Hooks
is
DNA thing.
hooks written all over.
Right.
Right. I tell you what.
But you know, really, let's get honestly, while we're talking about the youth programs, man, as you go through Facebook, man, PGYA's got their big flag football deal going on. They were playing Mondays and I think Tuesdays. Just kudos to all these kids, coming out. They're going to the games on Friday nights. They see the big kids playing. They want to be like them. So kudos to all these kids coming out and playing youth sports. Thanks for the volunteer coaches that help. I mean, I guess they're molding them now into who they will be. So,
Well, Pleasant Grove actually, Jay knows about this. Pleasant Grove, 6th grade, actually has tackle this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to be able to watch it develop at that level. And one of the things that I've been so impressed, and I know this is happening on TISD's program too, but they're trying to get the high school offense down into the younger kids so that by the time that they get in 7th, 8th grade, they're already hearing play calls. They already know what defense.
And I
things
believe
like
Gary was speaking on that too.
that. And so,
Or Jerry, I'm sorry.
and so I'm interested in seeing what this year's 6th graders are going to be their senior year, because they're going to have one more year of tackle football in them
Than anybody
so
else.
in 5 or 6 years, I think you're going to start seeing some of the benefits of bringing that back. One of the things that I can remember as a young football player, sometimes you had some coaches in there that were the warm body.
Right.
And that's what you don't want in a tackle football team.
Right.
You want some coaches there that can teach them how to tackle properly, just so that you are going to try to reduce or eliminate injuries and things like that. But kudos to all the volunteer coaches that are out there, because it takes so much to be able to put together all these different youth leagues. We actually had the Texarkana Soccer Association showed up at this past week's city council meeting, and just seeing how many volunteers it takes for soccer, and how many volunteers it takes for softball, and how many volunteers it takes for the basketball leagues. And for me, I would even challenge those that are watching, if you're not doing anything on a Saturday, go to one of the local youth, flag football, games or soccer games or something like that. It's entertaining, especially when you start watching those younger.
Oh, right. And, kind of back to what you said, what it takes to run a youth sports organization. I can just speak on Hooks. It takes more than what people think. I know people sometimes get closed-minded because they sit in the stands, but they don't understand what all goes into it and what all sacrifices everybody makes. I mean, it's
And you're
all
always a bad guy, aren't you, buddy?
Sometimes. It's all volunteer-based. Nobody gets paid to do it. Everybody just does it because they want to, or their kids involved. But if you want to help, any of these small towns, it doesn't matter. I'm sure
Nobody's going to tell you no.
Nobody's going to tell you no. If you want to come up and just help with a concession stand, or maybe you just want to be their uniform guy or whatever, any kind of organization will accept any kind of help they can get. So if you ever wanted to just volunteer and you wanted to, hey, seek it out. It's there for you.
Well, we ran out of space on our cue card or digital cue cards up there, but we also got Liberty Ilo Atlanta. And also, Tony Langford says he wants one of these hats, so let's make it be known he's wanting to be like me. But LE at Atlanta, why this is interesting is LE was in a bad spot, and they come out for a quarter and a half, and they were beating a very good Mount Pleasant team. Atlanta, I believe Harrison's back, but even though there's a lot of extenuating circumstances in Atlanta's loss, it's still a loss because they come back and played it. This is a huge game for LE. I mean, they're technically still 0-2, and they've got Sulphur Springs next week, and then district starts.
Yeah, I really wanted to see that game played out. I wanted to see, I know Liberty Ilo's kind of behind the 8 ball right now. I really wish that game would have finished out to see, what kind of tables were turning for them. So they're just really going to have to show us this week when they play Atlanta. So,
well, my Atlanta insider has Harrison 50-50 that's going to play, and if he doesn't suit up, then I believe you're going to have Jaden Riley step in and take over the quarterback role. So I think that creates a tighter game.
Well, what it does, it takes an outside weapon.
Because not only did you lose the quarterback, but you lost the wide receiver. So I think that's definitely going to tighten up that game. I'm still looking for that Greg London breakout game.
Well, speaking of that, Greg London had a lot of yards last week before the rain was called, and I was going to mention that here in a minute. That Prevost had the big play in special teams, and I want to say Greg London had somewhere around 70 yards in a quarter and a half versus Mount Pleasant. So,
I mean, I still think that Greg London is going to end up being one of the top running backs in our area.
Well,
by the end of the season.
And I'm not taking anything away from these kids. We just report the facts. Up until last week, Prevost and Greg really hadn't done a whole lot.
Sure.
But it goes back to it's aggravating. They were coming out. They were beating a very good 5A team. They were doing what they were wanting. I don't know who would have won the game in the second half, but it's still, let's say LE loses by 3 points or 1 point to Mount Pleasant, and Greg London goes for 150, and Prevost's got 200 all-purpose yards.
You can build off that.
That's been a very big night for LE. And both of those kids, they were getting the ball rolling the right way, and they were moving the ball. They said pipes look good back there. So I think it's going to be a good game. If Harrison don't play and you take Jaden away from the perimeter, I think LE wins.
Where's this game at, Ben?
It's at Atlanta.
At Atlanta.
So in Atlanta fans are Atlanta fans.
Yes,
so
yes, they are.
It'll be loud. I do think that with it being as close as it is, Liberty Island's going to travel well too.
Oh, for sure.
And I would challenge every fan base, go watch your players, go watch your teams, go root for them, be loud.
Absolutely.
Who are you going to mention next? Go ahead.
Who we're going to mention next? Oh, we're going to go back to our recap.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Keep going.
If Buddy's done and Jay's done, we're going to go to our recap here. Of course, we got to talk about the Pleasant Grove win first because me and Jay we're attempting to be Pleasant Grove homers, but Buddy's such a big homer over here that we really can't even get in the same conversation.
You can't.
But all joking aside, Pleasant Grove, they kind of had a dogfight for a minute. It was hot, it was miserable, I was cranky, and it wasn't fun for about a quarter and a half.
Well, and it's I had the luxury of helping call that game with Matt Fry, and one of the leaders of the school district texted us. I believe it was about halfway through the third quarter, and said there's a difference in y'all's play calling. Now that Pleasant Grove's up, and so there was some concern. I mean, there was some concern from the booth. There was some concern from the fans. But when you look at the coaches, when you look at the players, still calm faces.
We were a holding play away from being down 27-7.
Absolutely.
Hey, so Ben can tell you, I was a little late getting the game on, but as soon as I turned it on, I was just kind of like, "Oh, is that really right?" I sent Ben a text, and he didn't answer me for a while. And I was like, oh man, what's going on here? And of course, then, then Pleasant Grove also, they buckled down, got it together, and then the whole tide changed. But
Well, I'll say this, and it doesn't need to go unmentioned. It's 20-7. We got the ball back. It's 4th and 4 from their own 30. Okay, we hand the ball to Jaden Boardley, and I wouldn't say Jaden had any blocking really good, but Jaden went out and made a man's play, ran it 70 yards, and from that point forward, we beat him 38-6.
Yeah. No, Boardley being able to touch the ball, whether it's out in playing wide receiver or the times that we're going to have him in the backfield, he's going to be fun to watch the remainder of the season. He's been able to lose some weight since last year, and totally different player, and even more so, even an impact on the defensive side too.
He's not playing a ton of plays right now, but when he's out there, he's producing offensively.
And he totally outran them kids. Like, they were not catching him.
No, he hit him in the mouth, and then it was over. We got also Texas High won 62-14 over a good Benton team. I will say this, that's a great win for Texas High because Benton, they're always in the playoffs in Louisiana. They're always state ranked. And Hooks got the no decision with Winsboro. Don't even want to talk about that. Atlanta came back. They did the tough thing, but they lost their game 29-20 to New Boston. Arkansas High is 3-0 for the first time in a while. Then you got Mount Pleasant, LE in the no decision, which is absolutely an atrocity to LE with what they were doing.
Right.
Well, we got another week of football to go and watch. And,
I got one more thing.
Go ahead.
I almost forgot. We had our drawing for $250, and this will be $800 we've given away at Texarkana Friday Night Lights now. This one here was won by Alyssa Waddell. I think I know that name.
That sounds familiar. I don't.
It's my ex-wife.
Oh, there you go.
And I couldn't have done it
That's
if I
two
tried.
wins for her.
I know, right? But she wins a $250 drawing. We'll get that settled up with her with TNFL, and then our next one we'll probably set it with about 2 months from now. But it's going to be a $300 drawing, and half of that will come from Buddy.
Right.
So if you're an ex-wife, sign up.
And as always, before we go, I just want to say, if your team's playing away and you're not traveling, there's always somebody playing local. Get out and support these kids, and watch some good football. There's a lot of good football in our area right now.
Pleasant Grove's JV and freshmen go over to Pittsburgh tonight. Where's Hooks at?
Hooks JV's actually off. Hawkins.
You told me that
they did not have enough kids due to injury, but the Hooks 7th and 8th grade will be playing.
I also think we need to set up the Hooks 6th grade versus PG 6th grade. So, coaches, if you're listening, we need to get that done because we need it settled once and for all. Who's better between Hooks and Pleasant Grove?
Right.
And that's the only place I know that Hooks are going to be close right now, right, Jay?
We could possibly stream that as well.
Look at Buddy. Look at Buddy over here. He's not agreeing with me. I'm just saying it would be close because it's our 6th grader's first year playing.
Right. I mean, it's always good. You never know what can happen at that age level either. So, yeah, they and actually, if PGYA they should be playing in the same league with Atlanta and New Boston and all that stuff.
Yeah, we played in that. Actually, my son played in that league one time when we were in 3rd grade. Somehow we played with the Sims team. Right. He did make All-Stars, and that was a good year. But that was a very humbling year for my coaching. Everybody else had 32 kids for the most part, except for Queen City. And we rolled out there with 12 on a good day.
Well, you got one, that's one back up.
And this is a true story. We were playing 4th grade football. I had 12 from 4th through 1st grade playing 4th grade football. Now, I will say this. Our quarterback was Logan McCullough, who's now the starter at James Bowie, and he was a heck of a player back then. But that was a very interesting year.
Right.
Good deal.
All right. Well, I think that's all we've got this week. We had another great show. A special thanks to our gentlemen from Hope that come down here. And, good luck to Prescott, but good luck to Hope in the game of the week. Thank you.